Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for attending the Environmental, Social, and Corporate Governance, or ESG webinar. This is most likely the first ESG Outlook webinar organized by NGOs and community organizations for investors, especially here in Indonesia. Today, for the next 60 minutes, we're going to discuss the financial outlook of the mining sector in Indonesia. And we will also hear directly from 3 grassroots organizations who investigated the environmental and social impact of some of the largest mining concessions in Indonesia, especially Bumi, Adaro, and Indika concessions. I am Margareta Quina. I will be your moderator for today. And we have 4 organizations here as our speakers. This webinar is hosted by Market Forces. We have Julian Vincent here and Binbin Mariana, who will be delivering the financial outlook of the miners. And we also have Auriga, represented by Timer Manurung. Timer will tell us their finding from investigation of Bumi, Adaro, and Indika's mining concession. And we will also discuss about the environmental and human rights violations related to Bumi, Adaro, and Indika concessions. And we have 2 grassroots organizations here. We have Jatam, represented by Prada Marupang. And we also have Walhi South Kalimantan, represented by Kisworo Dwi Cahyono, or Chakis. So we will have about 10 minutes Q&A session after all of the speakers have delivered their presentation. And I'd like to encourage all of you to drop your question in the Q&A box anytime. It will be anonymous, so feel free to ask anything. And we also need to let you know in advance that all of the presentation here today will not mentioning specific community names to ensure their security. So if any of you is interested to know more about the finding or the details of the case mentioned today, you can contact Market Forces, who can connect you with our speakers for a one-on-one conversation. So without further ado, let's start with an opening remarks from the host, Julian Vincent of Market Forces. Julian, the time is yours.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're viewing this webinar from. I'm the Executive Director of Market Forces, and I want to thank you for joining us today. And I also want to thank our friends from Auriga, Jatam, and Walhi. It's a real privilege to be able to have you here firsthand, bringing your accounts of the reality of how environmental and social issues from coal are manifesting in Indonesia. I'll just make a few introductory comments before we hear from today's speakers. Market Forces is an environmental finance advocacy organization. We focus on the role of finance and investment in environmental issues. We're based throughout Australia, Southeast Asia, and the United Kingdom. And our role is to work with others to shift finance away from activities that damage the environment and push finance into activities that protect and enhance the environment. In Southeast Asia, we've prioritized work that improves the flow of communication between investors and communities facing the impacts of environmentally damaging projects. And our aim is to elevate the concerns of people directly facing environmental and social harm and give investors the means to and the reason to forcefully engage with their clients and their assets, ensuring that we don't support activities that needlessly put people and the environment in harm's way. Countless letters and meetings and email exchanges that we've been part of have demonstrated how the normal flow of information is failing to make investors properly informed of environmental, social, and governance risks. As Market Forces, we're glad to help break down those barriers as an intermediary, but that's not as good as facilitating direct dialogue between communities and the providers of finance to the companies and projects that affect their livelihoods. So that's what this is all about. That's what this event is all about. So as this webinar is about hearing from other people, I'll hand back to Margarita to introduce our first presenter, but I hope that everybody tuning in gets a lot out of this rare opportunity to hear from people experiencing environmental social governance risks every day. So thanks for your participation, and I look forward to the rest of the session.
And let's start with the first topic for our discussion today. We're going to start with a presentation from Binbin regarding the financial outlook of the miners. And Binbin has prepared a presentation on this topic. Binbin, please have your time.
Thank you, Quina. For admin, can you start my presentation? Yeah, okay. Thank you. So Quina, I will be really brief because so we can have more times for discussion, and also we can hear more from our partners, the Indonesian community organizations, about the miners' ESG outlook, which are very important for us. In this presentation, I will share some thoughts and analysis on an overview of the Indonesian coal miners' financial outlook. We will talk in brief about challenges for the Indonesian coal miners in running their business in the future. Like Quina just said, specifically, we'll be talking about the biggest three coal miners in Indonesia, Bumi Resources, Adaro Energi, and Indica Energi. So basically, these miners are a pure play coal mining companies. In 2019, based on their annual report, more than 90% of their revenues were from coal sales and coal business. Bumi's revenue from the coal business was 99%, and Adaro's revenue from the coal business was 92%, and Indica revenue from the coal business was 93%. And these companies, they do not have plans that demonstrate how they will phase out from coal and diversify its business in a manner consistent with the Paris Climate Agreement. And based on climate analytics, to achieve the emission reduction needed to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees, coal needs to be phased out globally by 2040. To the next slide, please. Next slide, okay. So how are the miners' financial performance? I would like to share some analysis on their financial performance by IFA based on their annual report. I will talk about two metrics, the break-even price and the gearing ratio. As you can see on the table, these coal miners relatively have a cash negative per ton of coal sold because the coal price is lower than their break-even price as per August 2020. As you can see, Bumi has the highest cash negative per ton of coal sold at negative $15.94 per ton, and then Adaro at negative $4.35 per ton, and Indica at negative $1.79 per ton. And if you see the gearing ratio, they have a very high gearing ratio, Bumi, especially almost 300% gearing ratio. So in terms of credit risk, these companies have a relatively high credit risk with, of course, their high gearing ratio, meaning that this company has a higher degree of financial leverage and is more fragile to downturns in the economy and the business cycle. And given that they have a cash negative per ton of coal sold, this can be an issue for their cash flow and, of course, increasing their credit risk. So what is happening in 2020? Economic downturn. With the global economy slowing down and the declining coal demand in 2020, the first half of 2020, Bumi recorded a net loss of $86.1 million and Adaro net profit was 50% lower compared to the same period last year. And Indica also booked a net loss of $21.91 million. And also, Fitch rating agency expected that coal miners, all of these coal miners' credit metric will continue to deteriorate and even gave Indica a negative outlook. So what happened next? If the global economy is better, will coal demand back to the level before pandemic? Next slide, please. So let's see on their customer and their target market. We can see that these coal miners' main targets for coal export are Asia's country, mainly China, India, Malaysia. I can see South Korea here, Japan, Philippines, and also Vietnam. So how is the coal market in those countries? Next slide, please. So we see that the coal market is vanishing. Around the world, the mood is shifting away from coal. The International Energy Agency estimated coal demand falls of 8% in 2020 and said that global coal demand will never back to the level of before pandemic. And even before the pandemic, the proposed new coal power station has halved and the construction starts also failed 85% from in duration of 2015 to 2019 in Southeast Asia, and where most of the targeted export country of the miners are in Southeast Asia. And China as the main target export, China's president just pledged to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. This means China as the #1 coal importer from Indonesia will need to limit its coal use. In India, if coal demand fully recovers, currently they have a very high inventories, so will likely result in India's coal imports also continuing to fall. So no increasing demand from India. Japan, as another targeted exporter country, plans to close around 100 inefficient coal plants by 2030 and reduce its reliance on coal-fired power generation to 26% in 2030. So no increasing demand also from Japan. And Korea just announced its Green New Deal this year and plans to close 10 coal power plants by the end of 2022 and another 20 by 2034. So basically the coal market is vanishing. And what about the future of coal? Next slide. Yeah, so maybe we can say that coal is history. I'm taking a picture from latest The Economist magazine. So yeah, given the unfavorable coal business, we urge you to encourage these coal miners to conduct responsible business. Why responsible business? You will hear more from the next speakers. And also encourage the coal miners to start reducing its dependence on coal and develop a clear plans for phasing out coal in line with the Paris climate goals for a better future. I think that's it. Back to you, Kim.
Thank you so much, Binbin. So in addition to the high credit risk of the mining companies and a vanishing market, I hear a comment related to the lack of real climate commitment from these three miners. So to complement the picture, we will hear from our next speaker, Auriga, represented by Timer, who investigated the deforestation threat and abandoned pit holes related to Bumi Resources, Adaro Energy, and Indica Energy. Timer, we are excited to hear your investigation and your findings. The time is yours.
I'm Timur Manurung, director of Auriga. Auriga is an NGO based in Jakarta, and we do a series of investigation. In some cases, even we go further to working with law enforcement, particularly in the corruption sector and environmental crime. We many times file cases to the law enforcement agency based on our findings in the field. And we conduct investigation both by technology and also field investigation. So in this presentation, I will present what actually more based on technology approach that we are planning to publish or to launch our platform to show land cover dynamic of Indonesia in the last 20 years. So since 90 to 2020, we will then show year-by-year transition or dynamic of land cover, forest, palm oil, timber plantation, aquaculture, mining, urban area, non-forest vegetation, and for sure, and one mining or pit mining area. So year by year will be available in the platform, and include also changing from forest to mining, for example, or even from mining to back to forest if there is one. And as a start, currently Indonesia have this is the mining distribution in Indonesia. You see the graphics shown also about the proportion. So most of our mining at the moment in Kalimantan, almost 50% of the mining, and then followed by Sumatra, Sulawesi, but it's all mining. And we have about 11 million hectares of 11 million hectares is almost two times of Java Island mining permit area, which then through this technology we found that there are about 3.4 million hectares more within the permit area as a forest. So about 30% of our current mining permit area is forest coverage. And of all this mining area, only 4% that being dig or in the pit already. So if we allow this, we will then see huge deforestation more in Indonesia by mining, and also abandon as the trend in Indonesia, abandon pit mining area, post mining area. This is the situation at the moment we have in Indonesia. So you see the graphic is the green one is in the graphic is forest cover, and then the red is mining that already or pit mine area, and this is then not mined yet out of forest coverage. So you see the problem or the disaster that come to Indonesia if we allow this without filter, and we using this current political trends, we worry more based on the governance, including the new law, both mining law, new mining law, and also omnibus law. So this is we have, and at the moment we have new mining law that many and in public discourse easily or many says that is based on because of the many big mining concession that come to an end in their permit. So particularly 8 contract of PKP 2B contract of work of mining, coal mining area. Tanito Harum. So you see the graphics is the end of their permit time. So Tanito Harum, Arutmin, Codeco, Candilo Coal, Kaltim Prima Coal, Multi Harapan Utama. Sorry, I don't see because of the technology. Let me. So this the graphic and including Braucol, Kideco, and all of them is due to end. But now the new mining law provide chance to them to expand or to expand their permit time. And the satellite imagery analysis, we found that in those 8 mining concession, there are this forest cover is about as large as Singapore area is about 65,000 hectares. It's Singapore, I think, or Indonesia is Bandung and Java being combined. And one important thing is they have mining area, mine pit area that out of within the forestry estate, but without proper permit. We use the we have a kind of izin pinjam pakai. In English is a usage of forest area for mining. We call IPPKH, izin pinjam pakai, and it is by Ministry of Forestry, and we check through their data, and there are about almost 6,000 hectares that within those area, means without proper permit that being dig already by this concession. And how we come to that, we use a script that the satellite imagery being combined, being stored and then analyzed in Google Earth Engine, and then we do mosaicing, classification. So we classify 10 class that I mentioned already, including mining, and then we go to layering them until we then find the dynamic, the changing of each classes to other classes. So in like this one, so we can see as year by year changing from forest to palm oil, forest to mining, forest to other class we have. So we it is the graphic I saw is in 2 years, in 2 times changing, in one changing, but we have this in year by year. So 2000 to 2001 to 2002, 2000 until to 2020. But we can also do this. We can also changing easily. Then say, for example, 2010 to 2020. So it is by platform because the data already there. And hopefully then in December, in February being launching as we plan now. We are now in peer reviewing that, so then come to scientific standard. So let's go to case by case that we found in companies, as we mentioned companies here as a model. So this is Adaro. Adaro is the permit is about 30,000 hectares. We check their permit in save files. The polygon usually is usual that different in digital map and paper maps, but it's more technical. But the let me how to change this view, because okay, this one, sorry, yeah. So the mine pits of Adaro at the moment is half of their concession area, 14,000 hectares already. The pit being dig. But we found about 600 hectares that mining pits that without proper permit from Ministry of Forestry, because their map their concession area within forestry area, and this one is the number of that their mining area within forestry that being dig or being mined with proper permit. This is Adaro, and this one is the second one is about Arutmin. Arutmin is the mine hole. Arutmin is 17. Sorry, I'm okay. Let me move this one. It's their permit is about 60,000 hectares, and hello. Yeah, and this is the area that being dig in their concession. Mm, sorry, I don't know what happened with my Zoom, but I think you see the screen that show the figure. Uh, uh, mean they have 3,000 hectares more than 3,000 hectares that in our data without proper permit. And then this one is the next one is Kaltim Primakul. Sorry. Yeah, you see the data. They have forest. It is almost more than 80,000 hectares. They have forest about 4,000 hectares more, and then they also have a few actually that without proper permit, but you can see they have also mining pit that being abandoned in our data. And this one is Kideko Jaya Agung. Sorry, Codeco, because we also monitor palm timber, and we have Codeco as timber. So sometimes I change them. This is Kideko Jaya Agung. So you see the permit is about 47,000 hectares. They have almost 17,000 hectares forest in their mining area. So if we allow them, then it come to deforestation. And also you see the number of half of their permit in forestry area already being dig, but they still have in their permit area in forestry, they still have 5,500 hectares that still in forest. That's the data of this the company that being discussed. And for that, okay, let me show a short movie, short video, only 2 minutes. So this is Quina. Is it heard there?
We see the picture, but we hasn't hear any voice.
So they say this our regulation of mining reclamation is quite poor. So those eight concession. So this is the view from the air. We do drones. Or many mining hole come to death for children because they're sing in the area. So you see the mining surrounded by forest cover.
And for all participants, we will also share all of the materials, including the video link. So later, after the session, you would be able to click the link and see the video yourself.
We send a letter based on these facts. We sent a letter to the president 2 years ago saying that we are urge or demand a kind of what we call quit call at the moment. What we call quit what we define quit coal is we have a 4 steps in the letters. We send that in the letter. First, no new permit for coal, no new mine hole or of coal. So basically, optimize the current ones. And the third one, what we call coal export ban. So all coals, because it's energy, we demand to be used only within the country, within our coal plant that already exists. But we also say in the part, no new uh, coal plant anymore in Indonesia. So start, and then for start transition our energy to be renewable. So those actually our demand to the government and to the sectors. That's all,
Thank you
Quina.
so
Thanks.
much. Yeah, thank you so much. It's really interesting, Bang Timer. Real evidence from the ground. A third of permitted concessions area are forest cover, with 3.5 million of forest that would go away if the mining persists. And despite the law as well as the regulations are there, but they are packed with loopholes. And when we see the land cover analysis, it's clear all the legal protections hasn't been functioning properly. So thank you so much again, Timer. And right now we would move on the environment and human rights violation findings from our grassroots friends. So we have Rupang from Jatam. They are a grassroots organization based in East Kalimantan, and Rupang can also introduce himself and organizations more. So without further ado, Rupang, please have your time and tell us the story from the ground.
Okay, thank you, Miss Quina. I hope you can hear my voice clearly. Okay, thank you. My name is Pradharma Rupang from the Mining Advocacy Network, or JATAM, in East Kalimantan. And I would like to share with you several facts regarding the black traces of Indonesian mining companies in East Kalimantan.
Just a second, I forget to let everyone knows that we have a simultaneous interpretation for today's session. And Chakis will speak in Bahasa. So you can see the interpretation button at the lower right corner of your screen. You have an option to mute the original audio for smoother experience, but just let us know if you have any trouble with the interpretation. And Rupang, please get back to you.
Okay, thank you. Once again, my name is Pradharma Rupang from Mining Advocacy Network, or JATAM, East Kalimantan, and I would like to present and report the black traces of Indonesian mining companies in East Kalimantan. Several facts that I would like to report are related to some big mining companies whose coal contracts will expire by 2025. First, about PT Kaltim Prima Coal, which is owned by Abu Rizal Bakri under Bumi Resources Companies, and 30% of the shares is owned by Tata Power, a consortium from India. They have committed many violations. In 2003-2004, they have claimed more than 30,000 hectares of land of Basab indigenous people in Bengalon sub-district, and they have displaced 80 households who have to move to a new land modified into a cultural village. But the cultural village is lacking of historical roots, and the source of livelihood is very scarce. Next, this company has damaged two main rivers which are important for the life of thousands of the community members in Sengata Utar and Bangalon sub-districts. Sengata River can no longer be used as a source of clean water, and 95% of the community members in Sengata must seek for commercial water sources. It means that water sources, which was free of charge and affordable, now they must pay to get access to water because the access to water connecting the community have been damaged by the company. And finally, the community was displaced from the river area. And here is a portrait of violence and human rights violations committed by KPC. In February 2016, Miss Dahlia, a victim of violence, was forced to leave her ancestor land by the company because the company intended to expand their mining sites. There was resistance by the community, and up to today, actually, due to the violence, Miss Dahlia suffer from permanent physical disabilities. And they have filed a complaint to the government. However, the government could not take any action. In 2006, 2008, one of the company was implicated in tax violation, and one of the tax officer was arrested by the Indonesian anti-corruption agency. And the case has not been followed up to today. Next. And this is a portrait of PTMHU, a mining company, has abandoned 56 mining pits. You can observe in this photo that the school here is very near the mining pit. Under the regulation of the Ministry of Environment and Forestry regarding mining sites, the distance between mining pits and local community or public utilities is at least 500 meters. But the company has not carried out the obligations under the regulations. KPC mining company has abandoned 191 mining pits in 3 sub-districts in East Kalimantan. And for your information, one of the 56 mining pits has caused the death of a child in 2015. Next slide, please. And this is a portrait of a location which was used as the indigenous people cemetery. In the year 2000, the land was excavated by Kideko Jaya Agung Company for backfilling activity. So the cultural identity has been destroyed by the brutal action of this company under Indica company. And in 2014, they criminalized the indigenous community members for refusing to leave their customary land, and they were fighting against the company's mining site expansion. So this has shown that Kideko presence actually threatened and intimidated the presence of the indigenous people who have lived in this area years before the concession for Kideko Jaya Agung was given. Next slide. Next. Okay. This is a case involving Indo Tambang Raya, who has carried out several activities damaging the river areas connecting 3 villages, and the villagers have been fighting for resisting this expansion of mining sites. And 400 villagers reported to the Ministry of Environment, and they were successful in stopping the expansion, but the pollution to the river remains very serious. That is all about my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Rupang. It's all so interesting to me, and I'm sure to all of the participants in this webinar. Thank you so much for telling us and showing us the pictures from the ground about the land grabs, thousands and thousands of hectares of land grabs, river pollution, how close the abandoned pit holes to the school, and how many they are, hundreds of abandoned pit holes. And also the sacred burial sites and success story of the community resistance, how many of the community actually still resisting. It's all, to me, really powerful. And there's still a lot of other stories who Cak Kis or Kisworo Dwi Cahyono of Walhi, South Kalimantan will tell us. They are a NGO with a really close proximity and a really strong presence on the ground, and they can tell us as much as Rupang has told us. So, Cak Kis, are you with us? Is Cak Kis already here? Okay, so please have your time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Quina, and also all participants who are here today. And in South Kalimantan here, it's already night, and my apologies since I will deliver this presentation in Indonesian, and I hope that you are able to listen to the English interpretation. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Kisworo Dwi Cahyono. I am the Executive Director of the Indonesian Forum for Environment in South Kalimantan. As mentioned by Pina, I am one of the NGO who wish to achieve justice in ecology. So any development program or projects must provide justice for all generations. And I would like to share with you, first of all, whose natural resources is it for? And these pictures were taken by myself. And as you can see here, there is a very small baby here with his mother, and they are looking at a mining pit. This is a huge mining company, and just in the middle of their village. So I will share with you here the condition that Indonesia face, particularly South Kalimantan. Indonesia currently has been independent for 75 years, and South Kalimantan or South Borneo, since its establishment, now has been 70 years. And what about the region, and what about the people who live in South Kalimantan, and what about the local government of South Kalimantan? And it seems that today the welfare is still not guaranteed, while the government, it seems that they are very comfortable with the current situation. Let's have a look further at South Kalimantan. In South Kalimantan province, which is located at the central of Indonesian map, so actually it is the heart of Indonesia, because it is located at the center of Indonesian map. South Kalimantan is of 3.7 million hectares, and South Kalimantan has 172 islands and 13 districts and sub-districts. What about the forest cover? Most of the forest is located near the mountainous area. So they are actually at the center part of the South Kalimantan province. And some part is given for forest concessions, for the natural resources forest concessions. Some parts is the blue one is given as plantation forest concessions, while the gray one, the next one here is mining licenses or concessions, and then we also have palm plantations. So combined, mining and also palm plantation is about 50% of the area of South Kalimantan. Where is the area for agriculture and also for the future generation? So this is a very bad situation. And that is why we, WALHI, the Indonesian Forum for Environment, state that South Kalimantan is at emergency state for the spatial planning and also the ecological disaster. Almost 50% already used by mining and also plantation. South Kalimantan or Kalimantan is known as an area with 1,000 rivers. Here, as you can see, the river is still very clear, free from pollution, and children can play around the river. But here, as you can see, there is a barge carrying coal. As you can see, the river water is very polluted now. And this is the third picture here is showing you a picture of the wastewater. So if we compare it to the first picture, this is a total difference. And around 8,000 kilometers has been given mining licenses or concessions. And about 335 kilometers of river becomes mining pits today. That is why South Kalimantan is known as 1,000 rivers city or 1,000 mining pit city. This is a big question. And due to that, there is a negative impact, ecological disaster, floods, climate emergency state, and also the COVID pandemic. And this shows that areas which have clean water or air is actually quite free from the pandemic at the moment. But we also observe a lot of conflicts, for example, land disputes, and also pollutions to the rivers, and also criminalization of the activists. And do you know that we often experience electricity blackout, while it is actually the center of energy or power plant in our area. So this is an irony. And in the last 10 years, for land disputes, the people or the community always lose the case. And if we talk about the regulatory framework, this is very important to pay attention to. And I hope that the participants of today's meeting, as you know, we have a new law, a new mineral resources law, and also the new job creation omnibus law have been passed recently. And this has the detrimental impact. And based on Law number 4 of 2009 on mineral resources, Article 165 every person issuing mining concessions with abuse of power will be punished by maximum 2 years of imprisonment and a fine of 200 million rupiah. However, in the new law of mineral resources, law number 3 of 2020, the article has been deleted or omitted. So if there are officials who are abusing their power, there is no regulatory framework to punish them. But then we find an addition of article. Those with concessions are given guarantee for concession extension, including, as you know, PT Arutmin concession will expire by 2020 in November, but then December 2020, the concession by PT Arutmin is extended. And we completely against that. We must review the environmental impact, the social impact. They left a lot of unremediated mining pits. But here, as you can see, based on the legislation, they are given a guarantee of extension. So this is totally not environmentally friendly. And this is the new mineral resources law. And we can also find an article that provides an incentives of 0% royalty on Article 128. For example, Adaro, they do not have to pay royalty now. We are against this article. And Article 162, every person disrupting mining activities will be punished. So the community members, if they are against mining activities or if they are against mining concessions, then they can be criminalized. They are threatened with imprisonment and also fine. So this Article 165 in regards of abuse of power is deleted. However, Article 162 criminalize the community members who are disrupting the mining activities.
Jackie, sorry I cut you in the middle, but we are pretty much running out of time. So if you can wrap up in the next 1 or 2 minutes, that would...
Okay, now this is the condition of Wonorejo village where Adaro mining company is located, and their concession will expire by 2022. This is a school, as you can see, but currently this is a mining pit. So it was a school there, but now it's a mining pit. So we push the Anti-Corruption Agency of Indonesia to pay attention to this issue. From 2009 to 2018, Adaro has polluted the environment. Here, a portrait of environmental damage by Arutmin, a mining company in Indonesia. So they polluted the river like this, but then their concession was extended early December this year. So we pushed the Ministry of Mineral Resources to review the contracts, the coal contracts of works of Arutmin. And in 2010, actually, we have pushed the Environment Ministry to revoke Adaro concession. And currently, we also still against the idea of giving them concessions. And at Walhi, we are filing a claim with regards to the concession or the coal contracts of works existing in this area, and the mining area is actually at karst landscape, and this is very bad for the environment. So we are filing a complaint regarding this issue. So the karst landscape will be destroyed by the mining site. since 2009. Oh, sorry, actually from 1999, we have started the movement to resist against mining companies up to today. And even we join forces with the religious leaders to push the government to revoke mining concessions. We also filed a claim to the court in Jakarta. And we have issued recommendations. So we suggested to revoke the new law of mineral resources and also the job creation omnibus law. And we recommend to review the existing concessions and also revoke the mining concessions, give back the land to the community members. And we must invest in environmental friendly projects and also form a special task force for agrarian conflicts. And also we do need environmental court, and we also push any stakeholders, including mining products buyers and also financiers, to first examine whether their counterparty, in this case the mining company, is environmental friendly or not, because the local community is heavily impacted by their activity. And today, December 9, we had a local election for the head of district, and many of the big bosses of the mining companies are behind the local government leaders. So make sure that buyers must find an environmentally coal exporters. That is all. Thank you very much for your attention. So this is our campaign, Save Meratus in South Kalimantan and end coal mining concessions.
Your last sentence speaks for itself. We hear about all the land conflict, the high number of respiratory disease and all, but in the end, it's actually the buyers and investors' responsibility as well to really make sure that the products that they are buying does not harm the human rights, the humans on the ground, and the environment. So I've been monitoring the Q&A box, and I've seen 2 questions answered, and there is no remaining questions right here. I just want to share the last opportunity for anyone who still want to ask any question. Please use your time to drop in the Q&A box. If there is none, we will move on to the closing remarks and wrap up by Julian. So is there anyone who still have burning question?
There is a question. I think it's for Chakis.
There's one question, and I think either Chakis or Timer can actually answer this question. Can you explain how the mining law loopholes? Chakis?
Say that in presentation, yeah.
Or Timer?
No, it's Chakis already mentioned in his presentation, so I think let's give Chakis.
Is Chakis stay with us? Okay, there you are.
Masih.
So we have a question here from the audience. Okay, can you look at my screen now that I share? Okay, as we can see here, this is the new, this is the new mining law, mineral resources law. Article 165 was omitted. Article 165 stipulated that officials abusing their power will be punished with imprisonment and fine. But the new law deleted that article. And also, there's an additional article in the new law. Those with coal contracts of works were given the guarantee of extension in the form of special mining business license. So they are guaranteed to have extension of coal contracts of works. And also one more problem. Every person resisting the mining companies or every person disrupting mining activities will be criminalized. The miners sometimes grab customary land of the indigenous people. So, for example, the indigenous people, of course, will protest, will launch a protest because their land was grabbed. But their action in disrupting the mining activities will be criminalized. Our recommendation is before giving extension, we must audit the existing concessions. Here, there is an automatic extension because of the guarantee given by the government.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'd also want to emphasize again that all of the materials here will be shared to you by Market Forces. And since we are already running a little bit out of time, I'd like to ask Julian for a wrap up and also a closing remark. Julian, please have your time.
Thank you, Quina. And I'm happy to hand back to you for any final housekeeping wrap up. So, I mean, I would just want to say that as an NGO, and there are some other NGOs on the call here, and thank you very much for joining. I think we're a bit more familiar with seeing this kind of content and these kinds of presentations on a regular basis. And I'm imagining that for the investors, and again, very thankful that so many investors have attended this call as well, it's probably not something that you're as familiar with seeing. And it's a challenge to get this information to you. So it really underscores the importance of an event like this and being able to more directly facilitate this kind of dialogue. And of course, we will follow up. And of course, we will hopefully extend the opportunity to further these conversations, either through material we can provide or through meetings and further information we can tee up and pass through. But I really just want to underscore the fact that we are talking about companies that are going to need to refinance their debt in the next 12 to 24 months. They will be on debt and equity markets to raise further capital. This has all been foreshadowed. We're talking about companies like Bukit Adaro, Indica, KPC, which is a subsidiary of Bumi. Arutmin was mentioned before. And these are the companies that we'd really encourage you to go back and just screen the portfolios to see, to what extent there's some exposure there and the extent to which this can be on your mind when next engaging with the firms, because whether it's a mining pit within less than 50 meters of a school or somebody's home, these are just absolutely outrageous, unacceptable circumstances for anybody, whether it's not just loopholes, but the removal of protections in mining laws for any sort of civil society resistance, whether it's mining in forested areas or going far and above concessions that have been provided. We're guessing that this information isn't readily making it through, and it needs to somehow. So I'm hoping that this dialogue today we can do again, and we can do more in the future and improve upon this as well, and follow it up with even more content, because we know that as responsible investors, you need to be informed, you need to be armed with this kind of information to take into your conversations. So I'll say thank you everyone once again for attending and for making the time today, wherever you are in the world. We really value it. And with that, I'll just hand back to Quinn to wrap up.
Thank you so much, Julian, and thank you again for everyone for this meaningful session. We hope the session today can give you a better picture of what is going on the ground, and when the law is not functioning, maybe it's time to turn to the market forces. And as I said earlier, market forces will follow up by sending you the video record of this webinar, as well as all relevant materials. And if any of you need to follow up on specific cases or analytics, feel free to also reach out to market forces, who will connect you to our speakers today. So thank you once again on behalf of all the panelists and the host. Bye-bye and have a good day.